And my comments on this now, so I'm now advocating saying, when changing the procedure for collecting important information that could lead to more sales, the company should have sent out a brief of the new questions to us, as well as follow up with specific training in collating this and asking the engineers for feedback on the new form. When engineers have made an issue about including Chris, the company should have addressed these issues rather than let them group, leading to this disciplinary. The company's inaction and mismanagement of implementing the procedure and new form has meant that it's also responsible for the situation today, and rather than discipline Chris, it should learn from its mistakes too and put together a training plan for the future. Chris uses humour when anxious, which is directly related to his mental health issues. A reasonable employer would conduct an occupational health assessment before deciding on whether any disciplinary action would be classed as discriminatory, unfavourable treatment, which we believe it would. And then there's some case law on that. So there's the City of York Council and Grosset case, where the Court of Appeal considered that the employer's dismissal was unfair because the employer dismissed the disabled employee, not knowing that I don't know if this is a dismissal case, but as you'll see later on in the statement, we believe that's what it's leading to, potentially. That the employer's dismissal was unfair because the employer dismissed the disabled employee, not knowing that the misconduct arose from their disability. So it was about a teacher who had cystic fibrosis, and he was required to spend 3 hours a day in a regime of physical exercise to clear his lungs, and as a result of an increased workload, he struggled to cope with the demands placed and suffered with stress, which exacerbated his condition. He then undertook 2 lessons where he showed an 18-rated film to 15 and 16-year-olds. He was dismissed for gross misconduct, and the Court of Appeal found in the teacher's favour because the school had not made inquiries into the link between the disability and the misconduct. And that was discrimination arising from disability. We assert that Chris's case is not too dissimilar. And then there's also the case, there's other cases as well, when we refer you to the case of the governing body of Hastings School and Clark, and the British Telecoms and Daniels. So it's more saying about doing an occupational health assessment before making any decisions. We'll move on to allegation 2, and Chris has put forward a response. He says that Mr. McKnight put out, and this is about the emails now, put out an email about smoking in company vehicles. In it, he stated that vehicles are swapped between engineers. I took this to mean they were now being classed as pool vehicles, which means the benefit in kind tax is no longer payable. As I had not seen a memo stating this, as the company has a track record for implementing procedures without telling anyone, I asked what I considered a legitimate question regarding tax liability. He replied with an email addressing me personally, explaining the situation. He changed his position, as in my opinion, he realised what he had said, and now wanting to roll back from this. He obviously made the mistake of copying everyone in on this despite addressing me personally. I have no knowledge of this, as I cannot see this on the company-supplied tablet. As far as I'm aware, when I click reply, I cannot see the recipient's email addresses, and I thought I was replying only to Mr. McKnight initially, as he had addressed me personally at the top of the, at the top of the email. This was his mistake, as he copied everyone in. I just replied. As regards the comments being discourteous, that is purely subjective, just as stated in the company's opinion, it is also subjective. I cannot see anywhere in the handbook that I, along with others, have never seen before, where it states an employee can be disciplined based on an opinion. When Outlook for Android was rolled out to us, where was the training? Another instance of no instructions being provided, just an email address and password given. To this day, I still have no knowledge of all the features of this software. I've muddled through it as best as I can. There was no malice intended to Mr. McKnight. I even finished off my email with kind regards, so how is that discourteous? In my opinion, he has a problem with being challenged on his choice of words and seems to take offence very easily. I feel I have to constantly walk on eggshells with him, as if I say the wrong thing, he'd want me up on a charge. In my meeting with Vicky Johnson, even she said the whole situation had been mishandled. She clearly didn't want to document that, but that's what she said. And then Chris asked, well, how long has this works handbook been in existence? If it's new, when are copies being rolled out to other employees, or was it hastily introduced just for my benefit? My comments on this: having changed from the G Suite email system to Outlook when Walker took over, the company should have provided training on the new system to avoid issues such as this. You may believe that it is straightforward, but for someone who is not trained up on an email system, and for Chris, who, because of his anxiety and depression, needs more time to adjust to changes and implement them, this is all the more important. As stated by Chris above, the Outlook client only shows a reply option, rather than a reply and reply all button that you had with G Suite. He mentioned this in the